Ladies and gentlemen, it is the end of a Premier League campaign, and you guys know what that means. Your mate, your cousin, your mum, your dad, your gran, even you, Barbara, they're all about to make their predictions for who fits into their team of the season in the Premier League. Now, I'll be honest, it's been a wild season, full of ups and downs, but there's been a heck of a lot of good performers. So today we're going to go through every single position.
That's what she said.
Go through all the candidates, then go through a starting 11 and work out a bench for my team of the season. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy. One like equals your best player getting in the team. Now, naturally, we've got to start off in goal. And first of all, we're going to go with Newcastle's Nick Pope. 13 clean sheets for the Newcastle shot stopper. Part of the best defense in the league. But Nick Pope has been insane. What a signing. He saved 2 of the 5 penalties that he's faced and been just incredibly consistent. The only mistake I can think about was, to be fair, pretty costly against Liverpool, obviously ruling him out of that Carabao Cup final, but he was insane all season, especially just after the World Cup. After that, we move over to Liverpool for one of probably few candidates from my favourite side. Liverpool have obviously strengthened and got a lot better during the last 2 months, but Alisson had dragged them through the terrible era, and I cannot lie, without this man, we'd be like 8th in the league, like facts. And I know I watch Liverpool more often than any other football club, that is a given, but the amount of crucial saves this man made at crucial times, absolutely crazy. Not always necessarily the best ones, but you can basically put your house on him making an important save. And 14 clean sheets, genuinely, at least 50% of them were down to him alone. Next up, bit of a rogue option. We head over to Fulham and Bernd Leno. The ex-Arsenal man has genuinely been like so much better than I was expecting. Great and clever pickup to go for a goalkeeper from a big side that wasn't getting much game time. Bernd Leno has slapped it with the second most saves of any goalkeeper this season, being 135, and has on his own saved the most amount of goals of any goalkeeper in the league, being almost 10. So Fulham should have conceded 10 goals more than they did, but didn't, purely because of him. That is crazy. One ex-Arsenal goalkeeper, the final proper candidate here, the current Gunners shot stopper though.
Relax, dog. It's a dogfight out there.
Aaron Ramsdale has been probably the most spectacular goalkeeper of the season in the Prem. Some of his saves this season have been mental. I'm thinking Liverpool. I'm thinking Leicester. I think that was this season. This guy makes important saves very regularly and does make mistakes. I think they're over-exaggerated, but still, there is probably a little bit of inconsistency in his game. And then for the honourable mentions, guys that aren't going to get picked but have had great seasons, obviously David De Gea is going to get himself the Golden Glove. I just think he's made too many mistakes personally to be able to actually give him goalkeeper of the season. And David Raya at Brentford, who's been crazy and saved the most amount of shots so far this year. Worth noting as well, by the way, this is being filmed while there's still 2 games of the season left to go. So if there's any stats that are wrong when you're watching this, just bear that in mind. At right back now, we go with another Newcastle option. It's Kieran Trippier, who based on average rating for SofaScore has been the second best player in the entire league, any position. 6 assists from right back, unbelievable delivery, has been great defensively and again involved in 13 clean sheets. He's been almost the perfect right back, going backwards and forwards. What a pickup from Atletico Madrid, and I think he's going to be a great Newcastle servant. And I'd say his only competition comes from Arsenal once again, Ben White, who's done a great job at adapting to becoming a right back, even if he genuinely would rather watch professional carp fishing than football. This man's dislike to ability ratio at his job is crazy. It's like he works a 9 to 5 in an office, but he's just sick at typing. I don't think I've ever seen him get slapped by a wide man, but he did struggle a little bit against Manchester City and Brighton, but still a very solid season for the Englishman. Only one honourable mention at right back, and that is for Kenny Tete at Fulham again. Great first season for him. Kevin Mbabu was signed to be the main right back. He's just come in and just slapped him out of the entire football club. Centre backs now, and get prepared, there's a few options here. First of all, we start off with William Saliba, an argument for maybe one of the most influential centre-backs this season. What a first campaign. After coming back from a couple of loan spells, this guy revolutionised Arsenal's defence. Just used his pace, intelligence and great tackling ability to shut down. It was like watching like Virgil van Dijk light in his prime. But then he came back from the World Cup, was a little bit more shaky, and obviously he's been injured for the latter part of the season. It just shows how influential he is though, because without him, Arsenal have only kept 1 clean sheet in 9. His centre-back partner, Gabriel, has been trying to hold it down with Rob Holding, though it's hard to hold it down with Rob Holding. If anything, the Brazilian's probably been a little bit more consistent. My hot take though is he's a little bit error prone. I'm not gonna lie, I'm sorry, don't hate me, but involved in 13 clean sheets and has played every single game for Arsenal this season. His availability and consistency has been great, even if Arsenal have dropped off a little bit since the Saliba injury. We now move on to 2 Man City centre-backs. First of all, General John Stones.
Wagwan Generals.
Now, in fairness, he's only started 20 games this season, but when he has played in whatever position, right back, centre back, that weird right defensive midfield thing, this might have been John Stones' best ever season. He's been so good against the top sides as well, the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, and against the slightly smaller ones, like Chelsea. And alongside him at points during this season has been Ruben Diaz, and I kind of want to take points away from both of them because they've only played like 20 games, but at the end of the day, Pep Guardiola, he does his rotation. Man City have got so many players and so much depth, but when both of them have played, they've both been really, really good. He's just his usual class self, to be honest with you. Only 1 error that's led to a shot all season and none that have led to a goal. It's just what you expect from Ruben at this point. At Brighton, we've got a bit of an outside shout, being Lewis Dunk. What a season Brighton have had, and what a season he's had defensively, involved in 11 clean sheets for the Seagulls. He's just looked so solid. He's so experienced as well at the back, and he's just vital to how Brighton are defensively. I can't praise him enough. And then finally, a duo at Newcastle now. We got Fabian Schär and also Sven Botman. I'll talk about them collectively, because again, both involved in the joint best defense in the league right now. Sven Botman is the more attractive option, I guess, someone that's come in for large money and hit the ground running as a youngster. But Fabian Schär's uptake in form is absolutely mad and definitely not spoken about enough. He's top 30 for ratings of any player in the league according to SofaScore, and has been so consistent all year. He can be a little bit error prone at times because he's a little bit more of an adventurous centre back, but honestly, that combination of him and Botman is class. Absolute quality. Honourable mentions for centre-back, Christian Romero has probably been the best of a bad bunch when it comes to Tottenham defenders. Lisandro Martinez, I've been super impressed with at United, was maybe a little bit slow to start and has been out for a little while, but has been great when he's played. And also Ethan Pinnock, who comes out on top of some of the defensive stats across the entire Premier League for the season, and obviously Brentford have really overachieved this whole campaign. Left backs, we return back to Manchester City for the first one. Nathan Ake, for me, might be like the most underrated player of this season, because I really don't see enough people talk about him. Again, whether he's played at left back or in that kind of left defensive midfield role that Pep's deploying, he's genuinely looked so solid, has popped up with some important goals as well, and I think has genuinely developed into the defender that people kind of expected him to be when he was a youngster this season. A bit more of a conventional left back maybe. We got Luke Shaw at Manchester United, but he's actually been so much more solid defensively. I feel like every other year Luke Shaw discovers that he can actually play football. And then finally back to the Emirates with Alexander Zinchenko, a man who's provided a bit more steel and determination into that Arsenal side and a bit more of a winning mentality. A very emotional man though, to be honest with you, and Arsenal have kind of dropped off along with himself at the end of the season. Maybe there's just too many tears in his eyes.
One sec, just need to drink the Arsenal fans' tears.
My honourable mention for left back as well, Pervis Estupiñán, who's come in and single-handedly made that Cucurella deal to Chelsea look even worse than it already was. What an energetic, workaholic left back that guy is. Next up, we move on to defensive midfielders. We're doing a 4-3-3 right now with this squad. And again, we return to Man City with Rodri. I don't think I've seen many people make the game of football look as easy as Rodri does. It's crazy. And then he'll just slap a shit pinger in from like 40 yards for no reason. He just doesn't give the ball away. It's crazy. It's an unbelievable skill. And he's even chalked up 6 assists too. I think he might be one of the most consistent DMs, if not the most consistent DM in the whole world. Casemiro gives him a run for his money, especially in the Real Madrid era. But even though he clearly hates playing for Manchester United because he can't go 6 games without strangling somebody, This guy has genuinely revolutionized United's midfield, especially in that first half of the season. But for so long, for time, United have been lacking an actual DM. And as soon as that Brentford game happened where they got absolutely slapped, Casemiro's come in and steadied the shit. Another player who makes life actually just look easy though is João Palhinha, again at Fulham. 33 appearances, his debut season. This man's just calm. Great passer of the ball and the most tackles per game of any player in the whole league. He does the dirty work too. This guy is so good defensively and key to how good Fulham have been at shutting up shop this whole year. Rodrigo Bentancur at Spurs is so unfortunate that he's been injured for so long, because honestly, when he did play and pop up with some important goals, this guy was slapping it. But then again, I'm gonna be honest, I think genuinely a lot of Tottenham's downfall has been down to him being out of the squad. And I can't lie, whilst it's sad that he's got quite a bad injury, it is funny watching Tottenham be Tottenham.
It's the history of the Tottenham.
And finally on the DMs, we have got a man who was in big demand. Moises Caicedo of Brighton. This man has gone from minimum wage, getting basically nothing for a clean sheet bonus. To a man that can actually feed his cousins back in Ecuador. But what a season this guy has had. Again, consistently towards the top when it comes to defensive stats. Top 30 for average rating of anyone in the league. Caicedo has had a seriously breakout season. And your honourable mentions, Declan Rice at West Ham, who, whilst West Ham, they've not been the same. I'm not gonna lie. They've been struggling this campaign. Declan Rice has a little bit as well, but he's still easily been their best player. And on top of that, at Leeds, Tyler Adams, who I think has been easily their best midfielder as well, and they've fallen apart without him. On to their central midfielders now, and I can't lie, one man who just does it every single year, Kevin De Bruyne. This guy will be in videos like this till he's 57 years old. It's unbelievable what he does. Most man of the matches of any player in the league, 9, 16 assists, 7 goals. He's creatively ridiculous, pulls out passes that you genuinely think are impossible. This guy could have had assist of the decade against Leeds. He's actually just a disgusting player, like unnecessarily good. But one man who had been given in competition for best player of the year, to be honest with you, was Martin Odegaard at Arsenal. 15 goals, you know, in the Prem and 7 assists, absolutely mental. He's been providing a little bit of that Kevin De Bruyne magic in terms of playmaking and assists. But honestly, he's like a Frank Lampard as well, the way that he just makes those late bursts into the box, gets on the end of things and scores so many goals. 14 big chances created for him as well, and was magical against the likes of Chelsea, West Ham, Brighton the first time around, and Tottenham. Over to Leicester now, and we head down to James Maddison. Fuck knows how this guy's gonna end up going down. This guy has genuinely attempted to put an entire city in a small backpack and has realised that it doesn't fit. 10 goals, 9 assists, easily the most goal contributions of anyone in that squad, let down by a shocking defence behind him. He's been so consistently good, but Leicester are just so consistently bad. At Newcastle, a quick shout out to Bruno Guimaraes, who might genuinely be the best player to ever play at Newcastle. Alright, apart from Big Al. A great long ball pinger, 3 goals and 5 assists I think for the season. Not crazy in terms of goal contributions, but just calmly runs games for Newcastle. Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United, obviously another man who's been running games, and I feel like gets a lot of slander when it comes to these videos and a lack of inclusion. Is it because none of us like him? Maybe. But the reality is he got 6 goals, 8 assists this season, and in terms of like your average ratings and consistency for this guy, he has been so impressive. But yet again, that one limitation of Bruno Fernandes crept in the second half of the season, and that is being like just non-existent in big games. I think that's one thing that brings him down. And then finally, back to Brighton, Alexis McAllister. We couldn't ignore this guy. Crucial at the World Cup for Argentina and winning it, and crucial for Brighton as well. This guy is the best Scottish footballer in history, and he's Argentinian. 10 goals from midfield is nuts for Brighton. Obviously, he's a penalty taker, which contributes a lot, but expected assists are a lot higher than what he's ended up with too, so he's kind of unlucky from that perspective. Couple of big honourable mentions here as well. Crystal Palace's Czech Doucouré, been really impressive in his first season, I think. James Ward-Prowse is going to get relegated, but I'm sure he'll stay in the Premier League, again, trying to carry an entire club on his back. And then also Morgan Gibbs-White, I've been really impressed with. He's also played out wide, but I think has genuinely justified the price tag so far that Forest paid for him. We're getting towards the business end now. On to the wingers. wingers. And one man again who will always be in this list, we got Mohamed Salah. Probably one of the most disrespected wingers and forwards in the Premier League era, I can't lie. I've seen people get crucified for comparing this Don to Ryan Giggs. I'll be honest, if Ryan Giggs tried to do the things that Mo Salah did in his era, he'd get tried for witchcraft. I'm pretty sure Mo Salah even has more chest hair than Ryan Giggs, and that's what he's most known for. This is Mo Salah's worst season as a Liverpool player in the Premier League statistically, and he's still a massive shout for team of the season. He broke a record for getting more than 10 goals and assists in consecutive seasons that was held by Thierry Henry recently. This guy is just football heritage. We all knew how good Bukayo Saka was at Arsenal, but I think this season has been the first where he's been truly world class. And I know that word gets flung about all the time. I know he wasn't even playing in the Champions League, but if you look at consistency and just all-round unreal performances, even without having to get goals and assists, then Bukayo Saka's probably up there with the most performances like that, if that makes sense. So versatile, looked great for England, 13 goals, 11 assists as well. Another English forward that's been unreal this season, I can't lie, is Marcus Rashford. Even if he's been a little bit maybe less consistent, I think United have dropped off, but again, due to injury, suspensions, whatever. But that run in the middle of the season, I think it was in like February, this man scored 8 goals in 6, as well as getting assists. It's insane. 16 goals as well for the season in the Prem under Ten Hag. I think he can be a very strong candidate for Manchester United player of the season. And then finally, we've got Gabriel Martinelli. I'm not gonna lie, lads, slightly, I didn't even realize he'd scored 15 goals this year. Swear he's still 21. Like, it's actually unfair. This guy was playing in the Amazonian Rainforest League 3 years ago, and now he's an Arsenal superstar. 5 assists as well, great at playmaking from the left-hand side, and a really clinical finisher, I think, for his age. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of honourable mentions here. Jack Grealish might be someone that people are surprised I didn't give a proper like stats run for. I think he's been really good. I think he's improved a lot, but again, I don't think consistently throughout the whole year to get into the team of the season. Miguel Almiron had the sickest start of any footballer to the Premier League ever, and then has kind of just been like a little bit more like his normal self recently, but worth a mention. Kaoru Mitoma, oh my god, man, I love watching this guy play. The man with a degree in dribbling and the pace to back it up, he's been sensational this season. And his teammate Solly March, I mean, he's not strictly just a winger. The guy plays everywhere, but the guy's been insane. He's actually 12th in terms of average rating for all players in the league. Probably harsh that he didn't get a full segment on him. And now finally on to the strikers, and this has been a year of crazy goal scoring, and there's no better place to start than the crazy goal scorer himself, Erling Haaland. I mean, do you understand how mad it is to come to the Premier League and just make it a farmers league immediately? The guy scored what, 36 goals in 33 appearances. More than a goal a game. It's actually criminal. It's genuinely upsetting. I think he's actually scored a goal against everyone this season as well. That's mad in itself. He's overachieving his XG by like 9. He's got like 7 assists as well. He scores every type of goal you can imagine. He's just inevitable. Any other season, yeah, and Harry Kane would have had the golden boot wrapped up in February. 27 goals for the Tottenham star man is mental. Probably like 10 of the last 11 Premier Leagues that would have probably got him the golden boot. But as it turns out, he's being overshadowed by Erling Haaland. Still an unreal season for Harry Kane. If he doesn't leave in the summer, I'm gonna personally backhand him outside Tottenham Hale Station. Meanwhile, at Brentford, and I cannot not give a shout to Ivan Toney. I bet you all knew he was gonna be here, and so did he. He put it on his ACCA for the weekend. 20 goals for Brentford, with the most respect to Brentford, is a crazy tally. And finally, a couple of honourable mentions on the strikers. We got Ollie Watkins, who might have started off slow under Steven Gerrard, but has been an animal under Unai Emery, scoring just consistently. Did he score like in 7 home games in a row? Like, for Ollie Watkins standards, this is mental. Great season for him. And again on the English strikers, Callum Wilson for Newcastle. What, 17 goals for him this season? Finally, when he's not getting injured all the time, it's actually just great to see him slapping the ball in the back of the net for Newcastle. So that's everyone we're gonna talk about here, yeah? If there's anyone that I've not spoken about, then let me know down in the comment section below. But it's time now to get into the full starting 11, and we start in goal. And I can't lie, this is actually a very difficult decision. And people might scream bias here, okay? But I'm gonna go with Alisson, the Brazilian, yeah? I know he's not got the most clean sheets. That goes to David De Gea. But I think in terms of consistently saving a football club, David De Gea has done that that, to be honest, at times for Manchester United too. But whilst being like an unbelievable sweeper keeper that's great with the ball at his feet and has genuinely wrestled Liverpool into Champions League football contention on his own this season, I think it has to be Alisson. We then move over to right back, and I am going to do this positionally. I'm not just going to slap 4 centre-backs in my defence. This was probably the easiest choice of the lot. Kieran Trippier. I can't lie, no one was really facing off against this guy. Ben White, good season. Couple of other Dons, good season. But Kieran Trippier has been pretty much perfect this year, I can't lie. I can remember one shot like deflecting off him and going in, and that wasn't even his fault. Switching over to the other flank, and this one was a little bit more difficult, I'm not gonna lie, but I have decided to go with Manchester United's Luke Shaw. I know, I gave the spiel of Nathan Ake being the most underappreciated player in the league and then didn't choose him. Sue me. But I've genuinely been very impressed with Luke Shaw. I think he's been pretty consistent at left back this year. He's been so good. And yeah, for me, he's my left back. And that leaves us with the centre backs now in the back four. And this was a fucking free-for-all brawl, I'm not gonna lie. There's been so many good centre backs this season. But in the end, the first one I'm gonna go with is Gabriel. I think if William Saliba had been playing as he was in the first half of the year before the World Cup, he easily gets in. And quite clearly, without him and with Rob Holding instead, Arsenal aren't the same defence. But in the end, Gabriel's probably been a little bit more consistent all season and has ultimately played every single game in a team that almost took Manchester City the fucking distance in the Premier League title race. And speaking of Man City, I've gone with John Stones as the other centre-back. I know he hasn't played as many games as the likes of a Botman and Shea, who I did almost put in here, but in every single game, he's looked unreal. He's even scored some extremely important goals as well, so I genuinely think he's done a great job, but that was really difficult to choose. Into DM, a much more easy task involving a Man City player, Rodri. I mean, he just is the best DM. I understand shouts for Casemiro. If he'd been injured for the amount of time he's been out, I would have given him the benefit of the doubt a bit more, but ultimately, his own red cards have jeopardized Manchester United's end to the season, in my opinion, and that's on him. That's his own fault, whether you think they were a bit soft or not. Casemiro has revolutionized Manchester United, but Rodri is just the best DM in the world, in the whole world, and that's just a fact. And then joining him in that midfield, one of his teammates, again, Kevin De Bruyne, is a shoe-in here. Kevin De Bruyne has the most man of the matches of the year. He's probably going to be the player of the year. Actually, that's a lie. Erling Haaland exists, never mind. So he's a shoe-in, and Martin Odegaard is going to sneak in alongside him. He might have been a tiny bit of a drop-off recently, but I can't lie, the kid has been so good this year and has carried Arsenal at times. He's been so... 15 goals as well from midfield is nuts. And then finally, we got the 3 strikers, and I say strikers because it's the one area of the pitch where I'm going to go a little bit out of position. First of all, you all know what's coming. Ollie Watkins. No, I'm kidding. Erling Haaland, obviously, man. The guy's scored over a goal a game, for fuck's sake. There's no arguments. We move on. Alongside him, Harry Kane. Not a winger, but fuck the feds. This is my channel. I'm making the rules. So Harry Kane's going in as well. I mean, 27 goals. As I said, any other year, he probably wins the Golden Boot. It's mental that he's not even come close. And finally, joining them, this is going to be controversial, especially me as a Liverpool fan, yeah? I'm actually going to go with Bukayo Saka, who I know isn't a striker, but again, he's a forward, whatever. I probably, statistically, I should go for Mo Salah here, but I think in terms of consistency, influencing games, I just think Bukayo Saka has, been more consistent across the year. Mo Salah has been unbelievable, back to his usual self in the last 2 months. Was great in Europe as well, but I can't lie, I was getting frustrated with him in the middle of the season. Now, we'll quickly rinse through the bench and aka the players that almost got into the starting 11 but didn't, and before you start firing off in the comment section, players that maybe missed out might end up here. We got Nick Pope taking up that first bench slot. I mean, yeah, it was a toss-up between him and Alisson, so he's on the bench. I've not gone for a right back, to be honest with you, so instead we've got William Saliba and Fabian Schär actually turning up there. Schär and Saliba have genuinely had standout campaigns. And then at left back as well, I've gone for Nathan Ake. Again, most underappreciated player in the league. I think he's been so solid all year. In terms of midfielders, I have gone with Casemiro. I think he's definitely been the second best DM in the year despite his suspensions. I think he's been great and he's almost turned around United from a midfield perspective on his own. And then also a bit more of a rogue option, Joao Palhinha from Fulham, man. I fucking love that guy. He's just so cold. The only other midfielder that gets onto the bench is Alexis McAllister. Again, could have gone with Bruno Fernandes, but my expectations of Bruno Fernandes were high and he performed well, whereas my expectations of McAllister were like, I don't know, kind of mid. and he was unbelievable. In terms of the forwards as well, we've got Mo Salah. Don't worry, he's featuring, okay? He's there. And Marcus Rashford as well, who has genuinely had a sensational season, yeah. And then finally, Ivan Toney of Brentford. 20 goals for Brentford, man. You can't complain with that. I know that's one too many spots on the bench, if not 3 under the car. I can't even remember, but it's I make the rules, lads. But let me know what you think of my team of the season down in the comment section below. Who do you agree with? Who do you disagree with? If you enjoyed this one though, feel free to slap a like on it and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let me know whether you want to see a worst players of the season video as well. It's one that I've got in the locker right now. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy yourselves and goodbye.